Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Another disaster has struck the Philippines. Typhoon Tino pounded parts of the Visayas and Mindanao, bringing torrential rains, powerful winds, and widespread flooding. In Cebu alone, at least a dozen have been reported dead, while thousands of individuals have been displaced. Let's get on point with the spokesperson of the Office of Civil Defense, Mr. Junie Castillo. Mr. Castillo, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Good evening, Pinky. Good evening to all your viewers.
So maybe it's best that you give us a rundown, sir, first of all, of the areas that were badly hit by Typhoon Tino.
Pinky, according to our latest data from all the other regions at the critical path of Typhoon Tino, the most devastated in terms of impact, especially on the casualties, is still the central Visayas, specifically the province of Cebu, due to the flooding earlier this morning, and it even started last night. We have a casualty of 22 reported from East Central Visayas alone. 21 of those are coming from the province of Cebu, and then one from Panglao, Bohol. So this area, specifically in Talisay, this is a village near the river. And then nagkasalubong kasi yung dagat at saka yung rivers, plus the heavy rains that poured in those areas in Cebu province. So that caused the flash flood, affecting several houses there. In terms of the numbers of the affected population in this several regions, we have a total of 187,536 persons or individuals that have been affected by Typhoon Tino. This is composed of 57,867 families.
Okay. Yung pong report namin kanina, sir, Mr. Castillo, was that there were residents on their rooftops asking for help. Have they all been rescued?
Yes, as we speak, earlier this afternoon, the search, rescue, and retrieval teams have already went to these areas. And then also in some of these areas, the flooding has already subsided. So these residents have already been transferred to evacuation centers, some to the relatives. So the local governments specifically have already deployed their search, rescue, and retrieval teams to these areas.
Would you know if there are still individuals in need to be rescued?
In central Visayas specifically, there are no more reports of the need to be rescued. But in some areas like Typhoon is still at the Negros Island region, and then also at Mimaropa. So we still don't know if there are people who would be needing our search and rescue teams.
Would you be able to tell us the situation in the two areas now in Negros Island?
Right now, two of those these regions, NIR and also the Mimaropa region, have just reported to us that there are reportedly missing persons in NIR. Also, there are reported casualties also in NIR. But as of this time, we are verifying those reports because as we speak, some of those areas some are still flooded, some are still experiencing the heavy rains and wind in these areas. So when the weather permits, our teams will be able to go down, especially our rapid damage and needs assessment teams. So we'll be able to confirm those reports. But as we speak, they are saying that it's really especially NIR, because the typhoon has just passed NIR. So they said that it's really a strong typhoon that hit them. Now, and then this coming early morning also, Mimaropa will be experiencing the track of the typhoon.
All right. OCD spokesperson Junie Castillo, sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pinky.
We'll be taking a short break. When we return, What's next in the case of former President Rodrigo Duterte at the International Criminal Court? We'll discuss this with former ICC Judge Raul Pangalangan. Stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back. The International Criminal Court has yet to set a date for the confirmation of charges against former President Rodrigo Duterte. The court earlier postponed the proceedings after Duterte's defense team requested an adjournment on the grounds that he's unfit to stand trial. But for the camp of drug war victims, these moves are simply delaying tactics. How will the case move forward? Let's get on point with former ICC Judge Raul Pangalangan. So good to see you again. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me back.
Thank you so much for your time. So unfit to stand trial. The defense has actually filed a number of motions. I would think there were about 4 of them before the ICC. And one of those, to my recollection, has yet to be decided upon. It's the unfit to stand trial, which is basically what they wanted was an indefinite, I think the words used were indefinite adjournment because the former president is unfit to stand trial. Before we go on the timeline, Judge, I wanted to find out, in the history, has there been a defendant that was released because he was unfit to stand trial?
No, this is the first time. It's a rather creative measure by the defense. Well, there were other accused where the court allowed the case to proceed with them not being placed under arrest, without them being placed into custody of the court. That is the Kenya cases where the president and the vice president were both accused before the court. Except that in those 2 cases, these 2 leading politicians committed to cooperate fully with the court. They did not resist the jurisdiction of the court. So the court basically said, well, since you have committed to appear, we won't issue a warrant of arrest. We'll just issue a summons. And they lived up to the summons. They committed to appear at critical moments of the trial, the opening hearing, when the court requires them to appear for the reading of the judgment. But that is because they voluntarily offered themselves to the custody of the court.
I didn't know that one can be given that choice.
It's not as if they were given that choice. They were, well, I can't recall exactly how it happened, but they knew that the court wanted them to appear. And they already, on their own, made an assurance to the court that if they're called to appear, they will be there. And they did show up. And it was on that basis that the court said, well, since you have showed up for the first hearing and you commit to appear for the other hearings, then we will allow you to go back to Kenya for while the case was going on.
So were they initially arrested?
No, they were never arrested
never
because
arrested. Right. So they go to the ICC and then they go
needed,
back.
yes.
All right.
But by the way, eventually the cases against them were dismissed because the witnesses were disappeared, were intimidated, and that was quite a lesson for the court as well. That allowing the accused freedom will place them in a position to continue to intimidate the witnesses and to undermine the integrity of the judicial proceedings. And on that basis, I think I imagine that was a consideration for the court in denying the request for interim release by the defense.
As mentioned a while ago, Judge, there were at least 4 motions filed by the defense. We can start with I think it was first the jurisdiction.
Challenge the jurisdiction, that's correct.
The second is the recusal.
Of the prosecutor.
Yes.
And then they scored there.
Yes. They won in that one. And even the judges of the pretrial chamber.
Yes. The first was to recuse the 2 judges who initially took part in the earlier part of the proceedings. But for that, they were rebuffed by the court. And also, I just want to emphasize, Pinky, that the rebuff there was not done by just the 3 judges, because recusal of judges goes all the way to the plenary. In other words, all 18 judges.
Oh, goes to all the way where, sir?
The plenary.
The plenary, okay.
We call it the N-Bank in Manila.
The plenary up,
yeah.
okay.
And
then there's 18 judges there?
yes.
Okay.
And all judges then have to vote on whether their 2 colleagues should not take part in the case.
All right, jurisdiction, recusal, and then interim release.
Yes.
And then unfit to stand trial. The 3 have already been decided upon.
Yes.
All unfavorable to the defense. I want to talk about this unfit to stand trial. When the defense says a motion to adjourn trial indefinitely, what does that mean? To adjourn trial indefinitely. Is it simply just to mean that this needs to end because he's unfit to stand trial?
Exactly that. In fact, when I first read it, I was wondering, what do they mean with a permanent stay in proceedings? It's not as if the accused will be kept in jail while waiting for him to improve and to be able to become fit all over again to stand trial. So I think they're setting it up. The basic idea is he will be declared unfit to stand trial, and then they send him home. Okay. The mental fitness of the accused, if you look at the larger picture, is actually not really a ground for to stop the trial. It is a ground. It is a justifying circumstance. It is a factor that will for the court to say that, well, the guy was really too crazy, or the guy was not able to realize the moral impact of his decisions, and therefore he cannot be held responsible for his acts. So that is the classic way in which the fitness of the mental or psychological fitness of the accused comes into play. It's like the insanity defense,
Right.
Or in the Cambodia tribunals, for the Khmer Rouge accused, the 2 of the accused were already had a failing, memory, like some form of
decline,
dementia. But that's why I said it earlier. It was quite creative because they're using the same argument, not as a justifying circumstance, because that can be raised only as part of the trial in chief, meaning it will have to be pleaded as a defense during the trial. They're using it as a ground for a preliminary, in effect, dismissal of the case.
And it's never been done before?
Never been done. Yes.
During a pre-trial, right before the pre-trial chamber judges?
Not to my knowledge. I used to sit in the pre-trial division. That was my first assignment in the court, and I don't recall having encountered.
So are you saying, Judge,
like
that usually when you use the defense or when you use the unfit to stand trial, it normally comes in during the trial proper?
Well, not in the wording of fitness to stand trial, but fitness to be held responsible for one's acts. And that is pleaded in the trial as a defense for the accused, and to say that, well, he is so debilitated he cannot be held responsible for his acts. But this time it is used in a fundamentally different way.
Cognitive decline or impairment, I think, was the word used. Because you brought that up, I just wonder, does it make it wrong that it was not ever used in the past? Or is this something, I guess, do they have to wait for the trial proper to be able to say that there is cognitive impairment or decline, hence he cannot stand trial? Is there anything that precludes using that cognitive impairment now during the pretrial chamber judges?
No. I think, in fact, what they're doing is, there is no such requirement to proceed with the confirmation of charges.
There is no requirement.
There is no requirement there is no express requirement that he be fit to stand trial. It's not codified in the Rome Statute. what they're doing is they're extracting it from the fair trial guarantee that, well, the accused might be able to meaningfully participate in his own defense, and if he is not fit to stand trial, he can't do that. He can't talk to his lawyers. He can't make decisions about the, let us say, the defenses, the strategy. So it is, in fact, not expressly provided for in the statute, but I think it can be fairly, implied from the guarantee of a fair trial under the rights of the accused. And that is why, precisely because it's not codified in the statute, the consequence as well is not spelled out. Because if he's not fit to stand trial, then you can't proceed with the trial. And for them, the relief, the prayer in their motion is stop the proceedings altogether.
We can't even go to the confirmation of charges because the former president is unfit to stand trial. Basically, that's what they're saying.
That is their argument. It is very possible also that the court, well, by the way, what the court has done is they have designated 3 experts, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and someone who deals with like senior citizens. And I think their deadline for submitting the report was sometime last week.
I think it was October 31.
Yeah. So, so I imagine the report, well, the report should be there by now. They're deliberating on it. But, you know, it is also possible for the court to say, you plead that before the trial chamber.
That's possible too?
Yes. That's, what the court will resolve is the confirmation of charges. They will confirm charges.
Judge, now that you're saying that, was there ever a time that it didn't even reach the confirmation of charges because of certain defense strategies that were used?
I cannot recall. As I've told you, I've served in that division. I don't recall having encountered that in any of the cases that were pending during my time.
It's interesting.
Some cases have been dismissed at the pretrial stage, for sure, but not.
But it went to the confirmation of charges, and then the pretrial judges then decide whether to proceed to a full-blown trial or say there's not enough evidence, and we basically reject this case. It's not going to go into full-blown trial, and the respondent goes back home. But it goes through the confirmation of charges. We're not even there yet because the September 23 confirmation of charges was postponed because the defense used this unfit to stand trial strategy. Yes.
I think part of the strategy also is that, you see, the confirmation hearing will receive evidence, preliminary evidence. So I imagine some like star witnesses for the prosecution will testify. The defense already said they don't plan to present witnesses. So I guess that's what they're trying to prevent, because then if the testimony of these key witnesses, of the star witnesses, have a big impact, then it might be bad for their case.
It might go into a full-blown trial.
That is correct.
Again, just because we've been talking about this right now, they're still in the pre-trial phase. If the confirmation of charges happen, and if the judges find that there is a case to go to a full-blown trial, dun pa lang po talaga mag-uumpisa ang kaso, ang trial.
That is correct.
All right. Let's look at the timeline, as mentioned a while ago. It was September 8 when they asked for an indefinite adjournment because the former president is unfit to stand trial. Fast forward, there were 3 independent medical experts that were supposed to submit their findings to the pretrial chamber, supposed to be last October 31. The prosecutor and the lawyer for the victims, the public lawyer for the victims, were given, I think, 5 days to respond to the medical findings that were submitted on October 31. So let's look at what Judge Raul, November 5, November 7
Yeah.
submission by the prosecutor and the lawyer for the victims?
That is correct, yes. And I imagine the court will take 1 week, 2 weeks to resolve that. So yeah, come to think of it, they have the whole of November and early December to hold the confirmation hearing. So
I see.
it's still possible. It's still possible. But you know, we're speculating.
Because again, there's no. It doesn't seem like there's been a precedent regarding this. But it was just very, I guess, interesting. Or there was a word used when the confirmation of charges was delayed, when the judges, or one of the judges, or maybe the three of them, actually said limited postponement was warranted. Sorry, this is coming from the majority of the judges, 2 out of the 3. Limited postponement was warranted. So I kept trying to think what a limited postponement actually meant. So if we're looking at a November 5, November 7 submission by the prosecutor and the lawyers for the victims on the findings of the independent medical experts, if you were to guess or give us an approximate probably, when do you think the pretrial chamber will come up with a decision on this?
Well, actually, when I read that limited postponement, I was looking at it from the other direction because the starting point is there should be no postponement at all. We rarely grant postponements in the court. If they will ask for extensions of time, these are heavily argued.
Really?
Yes, and even for exemptions from the word limits, we have word limits for the pleadings and motions filed before the court. So, since my starting point is no postponement, when the majority of 2 judges out of 3 said they will grant limited postponements, then one can assume that it is really very limited. Since it was already scheduled and then it was postponed, if you're trying to estimate how many more days beyond the resolution of the last motion on fitness to stand trial, well, for me, 2 weeks after the resolution should be fine, because then you have to inform the parties have to prepare. If it's too short, then someone will complain that it's not fair, especially the defense. Yeah. And the court is quite careful about that.
So we're looking at possibly, just possibly, in the realm of possibilities, sometime 3rd week of November, a decision might be made.
Well, for me, I will give it until the end of the year. But I won't be surprised if they basically say, let's just do it by, let's start 2026 with this hearing.
I was actually going to ask you because you being there for 6 years, you have a break. I'm assuming on December. And what is the break like for the ICC judges?
There is no official break, not even for summer. We continue to work during the European summer, and you can imagine for most of Europe, they really take a break during summers. But for the court, not, because it depends on the stages in which the case, the hearings are held. So, but yes, as a practical matter, of course, things will slow down by toward Christmas and the New Year. The court has an international staff. The local counsel, of course, for the accused will also have to be accommodated. So, for me, realistically, the court will not be busy with hearings during the Christmas and the New Year season.
So confirmation of charges, if they decide so, could happen anytime this year, or it's also possible next year. Just quickly, the possible decisions on this unfit to stand trial. What are the possible decisions here? Because I'm thinking you say yes or you no, or is there an in-between here?
Yeah, there is an in-between. And I think it was already indicated by the dissenting vote of the Mexican judge in the first request for the deferment of the confirmation hearing. And the third is that for them to say it's not for us to decide this, raise this before the trial chamber. But what are the odds of the third option being taken? Well, two judges have already said we want to look into this. They have already designated three experts. I imagine they will watch the videos of the accused when he was being when custody was taken in Manila at the airport. He was reasoning with General Torre. He was arguing. Maybe they will also play the video of the hearing, of the initial hearing, and he looked a bit frail and a bit tired.
But would that be fair? I mean, we're looking at, if they were to look at the video of the former president in March, that was 8 months ago. I mean, so much could have happened or can happen in a span of 8 months.
I'm sure that will be argued by the defense, that his health deteriorated while he was in jail, and I can imagine that's a very plausible explanation. I'm sure it will be argued. But again, I think the key is what the three experts will say, because when the defense filed that request before the court, they had their own experts. And the court said, well, we'll get our own independent experts. They have their own roster of such psychologists and psychiatrists. And so whether it was caused by the detention or not, it's for the experts to say. But I think the key element is the condition of the accused at this stage.
When we talked about an in-between, you said the in-between could be, we'll let possibly the trial proper determine this. Is it also possible that they say that he's unfit now? He seems to be unfit now. We're going to wait we'll reassess this again in 3 months or maybe 6 months. Is that even a possibility as well?
Well, that definitely is possible. But they'll have to weigh that against the right of the accused to a speedy trial.
Okay.
And so their argument now is that the accused enjoys the presumption of innocence, and that is correct. And a man presumed to be innocent is right now behind bars, and we're saying that, let's wait another quarter of a year to do that. So I'm pretty sure that will weigh also in the court.
All right, we will continue, of course, to get more information, as we do, from the website of the
that's right.
International Criminal Court. That's where we're getting our updates. Former ICC Judge, Raul Pangalangan, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you also.
Thank you. That's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.